I don't know when I first started thinking I had something to say to people. Maybe it was back when I was a school teacher. Maybe it was even in school. I remember my teachers always thought I spoke out too much. But I remember becoming a youth pastor and my senior pastor giving me a spot in the church newsletter that went out each month or each week, whatever it was, and said, I want this to be your corner, Eric, where you write something, that you have something to say to the church. And it was a challenge for me to think about it. And then I came to Riverside and I needed to have a congregational letter ready on a regular basis, and then needed to have a Jackets for Jesus letter. I guess I didn't need to. I thought Jackets for Jesus letter update would be a great thing to have. That was successful for so long. And then someone gave us a fax machine. What in the world am I going to do with a fax machine? So I started a ministry called Facts for the Day. And I started sending it out with some little obscure fact, and would send it out and fax it to everybody who would give me their fax number. Everyone was getting fax machines at the time, and so it was kind of a big deal. And then Siempre para los Niños came along, and I started sending out a Siempre email on a regular basis. And so what I do now with Motivated in 2 Minutes, I guess, is nothing new for me. I preach every Sunday. I communicate with people. This isn't anything new. But I often think about it when I'm thinking about what should I talk about today. I think about, I used to have a phone-in encouraging message where you could, when I had a cell phone, and you could call into this number, and all you called it was my 714 number, which I still have. And all you had to do was call in that number, and every single morning I put in an encouraging word on that thing. And there'd be maybe a 30-second or 1 minute, and probably longer than that. Just message of encouragement. And I remember before I did the LA Marathon in 2011, sitting in the parking lot of Dodger Stadium and doing one called There Has to Be a Starting Line. One of my friends said he recorded it and he listened to it every single morning. It was the thing that kept him going, that there has to be a starting line in life. And I think we often forget that there has to be a starting line. I didn't finish that race. It's the only DNF I've ever had, did not finish, of all my races. And in marathoning, it's famous for people to hit the wall and just to bam up against it and suddenly not know how to go one step further. I got hypothermia in that race at mile 21, had to be pulled off the course. And I guess you could say I hit a wall that I could not go one more step with. I was just done. I was toast. It was over. Every race I'd ever run, I'd finished. That one, not so much. I haven't run a marathon since. Today, people are running the New York City Marathon. I read Sarah Hall's account of what she wants to do today and her training schedule. The excitement in it. I follow her on Twitter, and she's always positive. I encourage you to follow her on Twitter as well. But as I was reading her account and talking about the support of her family and friends and people who've gotten her to where she's at, I thought about that guy who recorded There Has to Be a Starting Line. Because there always has to be. There has to be a spot where you say, this spot right now, this is where I'm starting. So I can look back and know that's where I started, so I'll know how I got to the finish. That guy and his family walked away from the church. It was a legitimately heartbreaking scenario. They didn't like the way I handled it. And that happens when you're a leader. People don't like the way you handle something. And when it's heartbreaking, and there's no two ways about it, it was heartbreaking. But there were always two things about these people that I thought, and it happens every single time someone leaves the church who's close like that. I always thought, A, they considered me their pastor and would follow my leadership. And B, more importantly than that, I thought these people, we were friends. And then they were gone. And in the same way, if there's a starting line, I suspect in everything there's also a finish line. And I realized with these people, this was the finish line. They had chosen that they were done with me, and they walked away. I think about them often. I was praying for them this morning. I'm guessing there's hardly a day that goes by that so many of these people that I can name and go off that I miss, that I don't think about, that I don't love, that I don't lift up in prayer. They were such an important part of our lives, such an important part of our ministries. And then they made a choice to be gone. Gone from us anyway. and gone from our ministry. And I can focus on the finish line, just like that marathon that I didn't finish. Or what I can do is I can focus on the starting line with these people. Because with each one of them, for the most part, I can remember the first time they walked in the doors of the church. For most of them, I can remember the first time we got together and socialized. I visited in the hospital. We hung out together. And so for me, I choose to focus on the starting line in life. Because the finish line, I don't get to choose. Sometimes, for some of us, it may be a wall. And it may come along very unexpectedly. Believe me, when you hit the wall in a marathon, more than a dozen of marathons, I'd never hit the wall. When it happened with hypothermia, I wasn't expecting it, but there it was. And believe me, just like they say, it took me out completely. We don't get to choose our finish line. We do get to choose our starting line. And so the starting lines in life are so important. And I think there are some people in our lives that, well, even if we don't get to be with them physically, even if we don't get to be in relationship and communion with them for the rest of our lives, hopefully we hold on to the joy of that starting line. And we remember what it was, whether it was a communication, whether it was a fax, whether it was a message that they listened to. We remember the positives and take the positives with us and hold up the positives. Each of us carry our own personal heartbreak. In that heartbreak today, I hope instead of holding on to the finish line, which may have really felt like a failure and may have really hurt, I hope that you'll consider holding on to the starting line today. You'll go forward, you'll move out, and you'll think to yourself, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for such a wonderful starting line. Thank you for that relationship. Thank you for these people and wherever they're at. Protect them, watch over them, keep them safe. Help them to have hope and joy in their lives today. That's what I pray for each of the people that are no longer in my life. I lift them up in love. Hey, one of the reasons I do that is not just to be self-centered, so I can release it personally, but because I don't want to live a life of mediocrity. I want to live a life that's miraculous. I want to be the miracle. Do you want to be the miracle today? There are folks out there running the New York City Marathon today, and they're thinking one more mile, one more footstep. They're aiming at it. Sarah's out there running it today. One more mile, one more footstep. They've got exciting goals ahead of them. Where's your starting line today? Are you holding on to it? Are you loving it? Are you lifting it up? Make the very best of it. And if there's someone that you're separated from, someone that things could have ended better, remember, we're the miracle. We're the only ones who can reconcile in life. God bless you. Have an absolutely fantastic day. Don't let that wall hold up everything in your life. Break through it until you get to the finish line. God bless you. Be the miracle.